Hey guys, welcome back to Pwn So I'm here on Final Fantasy XI, and I'm playing Rune and I always had this question: how does Rake work exactly? How exactly does Gambit and Rake work to actually allow my black mages and summoners to deal more damage to the target that I gambited and raked? So I'm going to test that in this video and share that with everyone just to clear the air. And what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to establish how to deal more fire damage to a monster with Gambit and Rake. That's just this example, obviously using the system that I come up with to determine what the process would be. You will be able to recreate that for elements like water or earth or whatever it is that you're trying to actually Gambit or Rake. So let's get started. So basically the first thing you need to do is find a target to actually use your Gambit and Rake on, right? Alright, so I've engaged this target here. Basically, I'm not using an item level 119 Greatsword because I don't want to kill it faster. I want to be able to use this target for a while. And I also don't want to talk over the music, so I'll turn that down a bit more. So basically, what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try two different ways. Two different ways that I think might actually allow my Gambit and Rake to deal more damage. Alright? So the very first thing is, what does Gambit and Rake do? Well, Gambit reduces an enemy's elemental defense. The type of elemental defense reduced depends on the runes you harbor. So obviously it doesn't exactly tell you, but it shouldn't be that difficult to figure out what it is, but it kind of is a little counterintuitive. Alright, same with the Rake. Expend runes to reduce elemental resistance of the target. Alright, sure, okay. So basically what do we have here? We have all these runes that we can use. Alright, so with Light and Dark it's easy, right? If I want to deal more damage with Radiance, well, I use Lux, right? Don't I use Lux for that? Or do I use Tenebrae? You see, like, I feel like you use Lux, but I mean, you would have to test that in order to figure it out. So we're going to test for fire to be sure. And the first thing that I'm going to do is read two specific runes to you. This one says Ignis, increases resistance against ice and deals fire damage, okay? And this one says Unda, increases resistance against fire and deals water damage. Alright, so which one of these actually does help deal fire damage when I use them in a Gambit or a Rake? Well, let's find out. And just to be thorough, I'm going to go 3 runes deep on all of these to get the best numbers. So this is your fire damage. We're going to find a baseline. It looks like one attack was 21 damage. Additional effect. That time one attack was 19 damage additional effect. So anywhere between 19 and 21. Alright, I missed. 20, okay, 19 to 21 damage seems to be our general amount of fire damage we can deal. So let's switch it up then. Let's go 3 Undas and see if we still do 19 to 21 water damage. We should. Maybe even less since it's a water monster. Alright, now he was out of his shell when I was testing, but I don't think that's going to matter. Let's find out. Possibly matters. That was a lot of hits. Let's try again. 5. Let me see if he can come out of his shell. Okay, he came out of his shell. Let's hit him again. Okay, 19. Alright. I think it's 19 to 21. That's a double attack, so that's basically 21 each time. There's 21. Okay, that's a triple attack, so 61. There's 19 for a single attack. So it looks like it's 19 to 21. basically. One more attack just to be 100% sure. Okay, he's in his shell, so he's getting his damage reduction. Alright, well, I've got the numbers that I need, somewhere between 19 to 21 on each of these. Obviously, the multi-hits, they stacked, so 39 is like 2 hits, because that would be 19 plus 19, basically, and some change. They round up, I guess, with this kind of thing. So, what you got here is basically the same amount of damage with the water runes and with the fire runes, okay? So that's what I'm trying to show. Another thing that I would like to do is I would like to actually cast a water spell and a fire spell on him while he's out of his shell. So let me go ahead and cast this water spell. It is 29 damage. I'll do it one more time. 59. That might have been a crit. 29. 29. He's in a shell again. Okay. So 29 damage there. So the runes are doing 29 damage, and the actual spells are doing 29 damage. Okay? I'll wait for him to come out of his shell again. We could be here for a while. There we go. He's out. Alright. So there's 31 damage with the fire spell. Another 31. And another 31. And that was a crit. Alright, so we basically have the information that we really need here. What we really... I don't know why it's doing Lux. I guess I hit a macro by mistake. Alright, so what we really need here is we need to know, like, basically, how can I make the monster take more than 31 fire damage, like, without the crit? Like, factoring out the crit, just a regular blanket 31 damage that I'm doing with Fire 1. How can I improve that and actually do more damage to this monster than the 31 that I've been doing? 31 all day long. I want to do more than that, alright? So that's the goal. So I think the best way to do more than that is to actually cast Unda 3 times, and then use Gambit, and then cast Unda again 3 more times, and then use Rake. And then after that, cast Fire 1. So that's what I'm going to do. So it's either going to be that, or it's going to be casting Ignis 3 times in a row. So let's test with Unda first. Here's the Gambit. Unda again. Unda a second time. You always want to start Gambit first when you do this, because Gambit has a longer duration than Rake does. So it's always Gambit and then Rake and then unleash all of your damage. Alright, so I'm going to Rake him. So now he's definitely weak to something. I don't know what it is exactly. So I'm going to cast Fire on him when he comes out of his shell. He has Gambit and Rake, and you can see Fire's doing 63 damage. It was doing 31. It did 31 that time. I'll keep casting it. 31 again. Interesting. Interesting. Let's cast Water and see if it's doing 31. It's doing 37. It was doing 31 earlier. Or 29 or something. So I think what we did just now is reduced its elemental resistance to water with Unda. 31. Okay. Gambit wore off. Rake wore off. And now it's not doing 37 on the water spell. Okay, so that clears up something, doesn't it? Basically what that means is if you want to reduce its resistance to a water spell, then you would use Unda. If you want to reduce its resistance to a fire spell, you would do Ignis in this case. So you look at the color. The best way to remember this is to, I think, to look at the color of these and realize that you're not doing Unda to reduce its resistance to fire. You're doing Ignis, okay? sometimes when I look at this, I'm like, okay, well, Unda does increase resistance, so wouldn't that rune actually weaken resistance to the enemy? It doesn't work that way. It works, they're color-coded, and it works the way that they're color-coded. So that clears up a lot for me, I think. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to just keep casting water and fire while he doesn't have Gambit or Rake on, just to continue to demonstrate, like, what the elemental resistances of these spells are to this monster. There's a 63 again, so that is normal. That's normal to get a 63. Basically, he gets a resist, he gets a, like, an unresist, and then he gets, like, a crit. Like, I can crit for a whole bunch, I can get an unresisted spell, I can get a normal spell, or a resisted spell, or something like that. So, right now, he's super resisting because he's in his shell, so he gets that bonus. But it's always going to be one of those numbers, depending on what mode he's in, and depending on, like, the crit or not that I get. Gambit should be up soon. A minute? Okay, so we have to wait this timer out. That's the thing. So we can test it one more time. But I should be able to reduce his resistance to fire with Ignis. And not with Unda. So that was a crit water spell right there. 241 is definitely a crit. $29 seems to be normal still. More 29s on the water. Remember, it was 37 when I Gambit and Raked him. So that's like a, what, 20% boost? 30% boost in damage? Which is the relevant part. The whole reason I'm recording this is so you know that there's a good percent boost when you do this. You melt monsters when you do this correctly. So, just kind of want to show how it's done. He's taking more 31s on Fire 1. Another 31. I wish this guy wasn't fighting next to me. I get to see all of his log. I don't care about his log. Alright. More 31s. How close are we? A minute? Yeah, about a minute. Okay, so I'm gonna wait to use Rake. Yeah, I'll wait just a little bit to use Rake. Maybe like 20 seconds. I'll start my combo in about 20 seconds. So really quick, one more time. Water for 29. And fire for 31. And he's in his shell. So I'm actually going to start my combo. So remember, it's 3 Ignises, followed by a Gambit, followed by 3 more Ignises. Give him time to pop out of his shell. Great. Alright, and after the 3rd Ignis, you go back into a fusion and follow it up with a Rake. And now he's weak to something. What is it exactly? Fire does 40 damage. Fire's consistently doing 40 damage. Let's check to see that we still have 29 water damage being dealt. 29. Fire is no longer doing 31 damage. It's doing 40 damage. That's a crit. So those numbers are going to obviously be completely different. It is a 332 crit though. 40 damage on Fire 1 still. 332 crit. 40 damage on Fire 1. He's in his shell again. It was like 7 when he was yeah, he's still 7, okay. So the Rake wore off actually, so it might just be 7 because the Rake wore off. I didn't know if, while he was in defense mode, if the Rake even mattered anymore, but it probably still does. But it wore off, so I can't really find that out. But what I do know is that it was doing 40, Fire was doing 40 while he was gambited and raked with the Ignis. Why did this guy move over here to fight? Oh my god. He's literally just trying to fight next to me, just to piss me off. Oh my god. Back on track. Okay. So my point is the regular fire spell on this guy is doing 31, and the Ignis, in the Gambit Rake with Ignis, it was doing 40, which is again another like 30% increase in damage, which is pretty extreme. And I guess the whole point of making this video was to try to teach myself and everyone who watches me exactly how to do the rune fencer combo correctly. And you can see the increase in damage is very evident in the log. Really quick, before I stop the recording, let's look at the crits that I did to see what the maybe to see what the difference was. So this was a 332 crit while he was actually raked. While he was gambited and raked, it was a 332 fire. Let's scroll up and see about that other fire spell that crit. .256 fire right here. Alright, so 332. Let's do some math really quick on the crits. I'll pull up a calculator. 332 divided by 256. Okay, so that's 1.29, which is a 30% increase. So like 0.296 times 256 is 75. You add that to 256, that should be 332, and it's 331.7, so 332. So yep, so that checks out. So it is about a 30% increase in damage when you do Gambit and Rake, which is pretty extreme. I do like that. I'm pretty psyched about that. And that explains how you get so many 99999s when you fight monsters like Zerd, for example, and this combo is done correctly. Content that you're using a Rune Fencer tank for, and summoners and or black mages to deal magic burst damage, they will deal 9s almost all the time with the Gambit and the Rake done correctly. But it's only like a 30-second window that they're able to do all that extra damage. And I want to make sure that everyone knows exactly how it's done, so when you're in that situation as a Rune Fencer, you don't screw that up. Or if you have a Rune Fencer in your party, you also still don't screw that up. You can tell the Rune Fencer exactly what the combo is, what you need him to do, depending on what spell you're trying to actually deal damage with. So for instance, if I want to deal more ice damage, then I would tell my Rune Fencer that my Rune Fencer needed to go into his rune enchantments and use Gellis 3 times, and then, because Gellis is an ice rune, and it deals ice damage, but you can see it's color-coded with the ice color, so it is an ice rune. That's the best way to remember this. So they do Gellis 3 times, then they do Gambit under Effusion, and then they do Gellis 3 more times, and then they do Rake under Effusion. They do Rake. And then after they do Rake, like as they're doing Rake, the black mages need to be magic bursting Blizzard 6. The summoners need to be using Shiva's blood packs, basically. Alright? And that's basically it, guys. That's all that I have to talk about in this video. Hopefully you guys found this a little bit interesting and informative. I know that I did. I had a lot of fun recording it and figuring this all out. I really wanted to make sure I ruled out my player error on my Rune Fencer when I actually tried to do the Wombo combo, because I did not want to screw that up for my party. And this is definitely the correct way to do it. Match the element with the rune. Done. That's the best way to do it. Every single time, no matter what. You want to do more radiance damage, you use Lux. Lux is a white rune, okay? Lux is a white rune. It is light damage that it's dealing, and when you use it on the boss, it's going to reduce his resistance to light and allow you to deal more light damage again with your radiance or your skill chain light or whatever it is. There you go. And I guess that's all I have to talk about in this video, so I'll end it here. Thanks for watching. Peace out.